I should be loud enough here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I'm not listening to it. Yeah. So, Geeth, third episode of podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'll give as much as I know you, like from past 1.5 years. I'll try to introduce you to my fellow guests. So, I know you from 1.5 year. You are, to some extent, you are in spirituality. Yeah, and you are a chef, obviously. You are a chef working with you. So that's how I know you. So tell me about yourself. Something that I don't know. Maybe your lifestyle, or maybe before the point I know you.
So, like from my past.
Yeah, a little bit like.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, because you're Nepalese, right?
Mm.
I'm from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Grew up there.
I forgot that you are.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I grew up there and then finished my school, came to Australia. Yeah, and then I was in Melbourne studying and all that,
Yeah.
working, and then now I'm here in Uluru.
So this is my common question to everyone who come here.
Yeah.
Because Uluru is a place I never knew about it.
Yeah.
When I was in Australia, until and unless Pawan was here, I didn't know about this place. And when someone come, like I see people coming from Melbourne, Sydney, like from, I would say, from South Asian countries. For me, it was not an option
Yeah.
to come here, but it was like I find good community here.
Yeah.
I find I can say future.
Yeah.
Pathway to Chiya. And yeah, that's right. But how did you know about this place? And like, how did you explore
Uluru, right?
Yeah.
So, how did I get to know? So, during COVID time, when I was in Melbourne, because of all the lockdowns and everything, so you kept going to work on and off. So,
Yeah.
you go to work for like a couple of weeks, and then there's another lockdown, and then you stay home and all that. So, it was not consistent. And then, of course, for the visa purposes, I had to find a job and continue it. And then I didn't want to come here. Like, I didn't want to live in Melbourne. Like, it wasn't
You're
even
so
in my
attached with Melbourne.
Yeah, I was like, because I was doing things that I kind of wanted to, but then also same time I was going through a period of emotional stuff as well during the lockdown and all that. So, and then people around me, somehow managed to force me to come here. So it's one of my friends who was working here at the time as a chef. He was here, and that was the only reason I decided that I'm coming here, because there was someone who I knew here.
Yeah.
But then when I was in Alice Springs doing quarantine, that he went to Darwin. So so
So that's how you
came here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come here.
But and also that's how you know about Uluru.
Pretty much, I've heard about Uluru before.
Yeah.
But I really didn't know what it was like, or where it was, and kind of these things. And then when this job thing came up, I was at one of my places working, and then I put it on Google Maps, and I was showing my friends there. And then we were just laughing about it. Like, I was like, this is, I'm going to go.
How people can work in this place.
Exactly, because it was nowhere in the middle of the desert. Like, there was nothing around it, all that. And then a couple of weeks later, I had to sign the contracts.
And then you became part of that job.
Jokes on me. So.
Yeah, meme actually. Yeah. So, your friend came here and then you followed him. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, when I got here, he wasn't here.
Oh, he was not here.
Yeah, because he went to Darwin.
Oh, he already left.
And now he's back here. So.
And you get attached with people easily.
What do you mean?
Like attachment, like you get close with people easily, or
me?
Yeah, it will take time. Some people, for me, it depends on the other people.
Yeah.
Like some people they want to get close with me, but I don't know, for some reason, like if I don't like someone, if I don't like their company, like I just try to stay like far. And for, like I've seen some people, if someone like try to get in touch with them, or like try to be friends, they can't resist. They'll be like, okay, if you want, like they don't mind at all.
Yeah.
What's your nature? For me, it's hard. Like if I don't like someone, if I'm not uh, having good company with him or her, no, like.
So that one has evolved over the time. How I used to go about it when it comes to relationships. Now, at a completely different sort of place compared to how I used to do things when it comes to that, because back in the days, the problem was I was the people pleaser.
Okay.
Right. So and I was always like, I had a lot of friends. Like I was always doing things for people and all that kind of stuff. But behind that was trying to please them, right? And behind that was something that I did not understand back then. Obviously, like looking back, I see what it was, right? Because I had these deep insecurities that, like fundamentally, like thinking that I'm not good enough. So you want people to like you, be around you. How do you do that? You like start giving them.
You start giving them
without any boundaries or anything, right?
You say okay to everything.
Everything, and then in this process, you neglect one person. That's yourself.
Obviously,
right? Because then you make it everything about other person, pleasing the other person, and then you don't care about what you like or what your opinions and that kind of stuff. So I went through all that, and then now it's come to a point where obviously like I've dealt with my fair share of all my insecurities, traumas, and all that kind of stuff. So no longer like I have any need to have anyone in my life to give something to me. Does that make sense? Like I'm not looking for anything. So at that, when it comes to that, like I'm not looking for, like if someone comes across, like I don't want them to stick around me because I don't want to get anything from those people, right?
So no expectation.
No expectations from that. So this is where like I kind of like fucked up on my relationships as well, right? Because like when I was doing something, I did with an expectation because I was looking for something in return, right? In that process, but then you don't realize when you're doing it, right? Looking back, obviously you kind of realize it, but then because of that, when the other person do not meet your unrealistic expectations, you get hurt, right? Obviously. So you constantly suffer from that. But now it's like, oh, I don't need outsiders to like please me or anything because I'm already content. Like I figured out where to be okay without even anyone being around me. So it's when that's the case. If someone comes and like you vibe with them, like you understand each other and you feel like, oh, there's going to be a value addition in both sides. I don't mind giving my time and talking to people and all that. But then certainly like not like I used to do because like I give myself so much more attention and time. So there's definitely huge boundaries there.
So now how you call yourself? Like what I mean is like you don't care about the people, what they think about you. Yeah. You don't need them around you. Like you don't need them in sense. It's fine if they are not around you. For you, it's okay. You don't need people's support.
It's not that like you don't value support or anything like that. It's more sort of like you're not dependent on them. Like whether they exist or not, it doesn't like. Okay, there are people around me, and then I enjoy their company, right? And then there's always like give and take like this. It's like you both value each other the same way, right? So it's not like
it's like appreciating.
Appreciating. That's that kind of stuff. There's no toxic need attached into that, and it's like I'm not looking specific thing out of this relationship. I'm not depending on it. If this like
so kind of no emotions.
It's not having emotions, right? It's having a better understanding about how things work in life and having better understanding about emotions too. So for an example, you met a lot of people in your life,
Yeah.
right? Like you probably 28, something. Right? Over these 28 years, you met hundreds of thousands of people. Do you talk to all of them?
No.
All right.
No.
Probably a handful of people, right? So
Yeah.
so the nature of this life is people come, people go.
Yeah.
That's the nature. Like it changes, right? That's the common denominator. Like everything changes. So when you understand that, even if someone leaves, you're not really upset because you knew it's already going to happen in some sort of way. So while you're having that person in your life, then you get to enjoy more because you don't have any sort of blind expectations. Oh, this is going to last forever.
Yeah.
Like nothing lasts forever. So given another example, right?
Yeah.
To understand it. So nature of this cup. So this is made of clay or something like that. So it's brittle. That's the nature of this thing.
Yeah.
So when we buy it, we see a beautiful cup, right? New cup or whatever, and then we appreciate it. But then if it drops down in a couple of days and breaks, you're upset
Obviously.
because it's your new cup.
It's
right?
a new cup. I bought it because it was beautiful for me.
All that.
Yeah.
But then
It has some
the
emotional.
reality is
Yeah.
this cup is made of this particular material that's fragile.
Yeah.
So the nature of this cup is it could break any time.
But still, we try to protect it a lot.
Yeah, because we don't accept the reality part. Because if you see this as a broken cup when you already bought it, because you see the nature of it, when it breaks, okay, it's broken. Like you knew it was coming, right? Like people around you, they die. At some point they die, right?
Yeah.
But then when you think like, oh, everyone else is dying, but I'm not dying. Like I'm gonna live forever, sort of attitude.
Yeah, but again, in my head, like if I start thinking, obviously everyone will die one day.
Mm.
Like it's truth, and you can't change that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fact that you get since you were born.
Mm.
Yeah. So, do you start? So should I start feeling like, oh yeah, I'll die one day? So this whole thing, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, so give me.
Stop living.
Here's a question, man. Say, you today's your last day, right? Tomorrow something might happen, or whatever. You never know, right?
Yeah.
If this was your last day, are there things that you would do different?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe my mentality will change.
So
maybe I'll start exploring things. Yeah.
I understand this because I went through a phase where it started during the COVID time. Like I went through a phase where I faced fear of death, right? And like the incident, if you look at it now, it might not seem like a serious situation, but when you were going through it, with that mentality, you're obviously suffering. Right? So I was going through this, and then it confronted me, like okay, and when I thought I was going to die, my question was not about dying. Right? If I were to die at that time, there were so many things that were unresolved that I'm dying with. If I were to die that day, if I were to die that day, I would have died as a confused person, not having enough mental clarity, and I didn't want to be at that place.
So you were bothered that bad thing.
Yeah, so that's how you wake up, like fear of death, right? Because death is, if people fear death, not necessarily because they're afraid of dying, it's because they have a baggage of things that are not resolved, right? So if you were to die tomorrow, you would try to like finish at least most of those stuff from that pile, right?
Yeah, maybe. Because people are afraid of unsolved things.
Death is a good thing. Like it's probably the only constant thing. Like everyone dies, right? And if you make peace with that, at some point you're gonna die. And if you live your life as if you were gonna die tomorrow, you won't have any regrets. You will live your life every day to this max. Don't you think?
Yeah. But it needs a lot of attention to yourself to think in that way. Like, because every morning I wake up, like I don't know if anyone will think like, tomorrow I'll be dying. Or you know, like I know that's just a hypothetical thing. But it's still like what should be there to make me start thinking like, okay, like
Okay.
this may be my last day.
Yeah.
Like
So
to increase my excitement level of life.
I used to hear these stories. Like I was obsessed with Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
Because of his marketing stuff. And then I used to read, watch videos about him and all that. And then something I found out was that during his last few, I think towards the end of his life or something like that, after he got diagnosed with that disease, he used to go in front of the mirror and ask, okay, if it was my last day that I'm living, how would I live it different, right? And then I tried to understand this like so hard back then because I couldn't really grasp what it meant, right? But then after that personal incident, like I got a deeper understanding about this whole thing within myself. When we approach something like that, we're talking about a different perspective for your life, right? Um, okay. When I went to Melbourne last time, like we were in the CBD city. We were in an apartment, 19th floor, right? So we were in the balcony, looking down, me and my friend. Everything in the streets looked like as if they were from a Lego city, right?
Yeah.
Everything was tiny, the trams were going very small and all that. I felt like I could like move everything around and all that. And then you see people down there like going and doing all these things.
Like
looks
ants.
like ants, right? And that's perspective. Because the thing is like you have a different angle there. You're simply observing from up top.
Yeah.
Think you're God. You're looking down and you see all that happening on earth, right? So when you go down to the street, now you're playing one of those characters, right? That's a different perspective. Now you're engaging with that whole thing. And so this is why perspective matters, because we're constantly engaged in this society doing things, running around looking for something. But then we don't know how to disconnect and have a different perspective. When you're talking about death, you're talking about a different perspective. I'll give you another approach to this. So think about Google Earth.
Yeah.
I used to do this. Also, like in Melbourne, like in botanical gardens, I used to sit up on a little hill and then observe people, like just running around, going about their day. Someone would go with the dog, someone would go jogging, friends going around drinking coffee and all that. Then every single person has individual life and they're going through it the same way I am. Right? Everyone has an identity, but then we all are like engaged in this whole thing, and it was like, what is this, right? Like everyone's stuck here, everyone's like trying to find happiness or whatever in their life, doing all these kind of things, but everyone's running around. And first step would be to stop running around, because we're running around without knowing what we are looking for. Like everyone, if you look around, everyone is running around in this world, right? In some sort of way, and they're looking for something. But the thing is, when they achieve it, they're not still satisfied, right? And then they're running around looking for something, but they still haven't found it. You still go ask like older people, like 80, 90-year-olds, maybe like if they were satisfied with their life or not. Like the answer would be not, majority of the time, right? Because they still haven't found it. Yeah. So if they haven't found it after all those years, the way they went about their life, something might be wrong, right?
Something might be missing.
Yeah. So I started questioning why, right? Why is it like that? Where are we stuck? And then I used to go on Google Earth and zoom out. So you go to the street view.
Yeah.
It's the normal way you were living, right? And then you slowly zoom out. Then you start getting more perspective.
Like you start seeing a bigger picture.
And then you start seeing a small globe.
Yeah.
And if you look at this universe, right? How big is Earth? Right? Compared to Sun, it's tiny, right? Forget about the universe, right? And then we are a tiny human being living on that Earth.
Like microorganism,
like smaller than ants even, maybe a microorganism like that. So that's tiny, right? That's perspective, right? So there's all that scale and all that, but then there's me in this body. I think I'm like big and all that. I have a personality and application, and I'm engaging in everything and suffering all the time, right? So how you understand these things together? So it's almost like the best analogy for this one is think about a game, right? Like Kasun is these days playing a game of dinosaurs. So
I know what you're talking about right now. Yeah, continue. Yeah.
So game of dinosaurs.
I can relate. Yeah.
So in that game, you can select a specific dinosaur, and then that start from a baby dinosaur, and then you have to live the same life of a dinosaur according to the specifications of that particular dinosaur. So it would change from a T-Rex to a different a bird. The whole lifestyle is different. So your whole thing is to go about this dinosaur's life as if it was real, right? Think about an advanced version of that.
Yeah.
As humans, right? We have a costume here.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have all these specifications. Like, for an example, we have our 5 senses that how we get information and all that. So we're pretty much playing that game, not knowingly we are inside that game.
Yeah.
Understand that? So we are engaged in it.
So I was talking about same thing. I was talking about with same thing with power. I think a couple of months before, and he was talking about a film, a movie, where it was like the picture is there's a character. He thought like everything, whatever is happening, he's doing by himself. But at the end of the movie, you'll find out like he's just a character in a game, and someone outside from the TV is like playing him.
The Truman Show.
Yeah, I think some like I forgot the name of the movie.
About the simulation.
Yeah, simulation. Yeah, and yeah, maybe I can relate the thing you said with that movie.
Yeah, same thing. I mean,
so maybe we are controlled by someone.
Okay, so when you say that when we are controlled by someone,
Yeah.
it's majorly to do with the society.
It's not someone who is outside the world now.
You can make up all that, these kind of things, right? And maybe true, maybe not. Like it doesn't really matter, right? What matters is at the end of the day, what you understand about yourself, right? That what actually matters. Because not like you can talk about aliens, you can talk about different theories, religion, philosophies, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I see everything as a tool that you can use to understand yourself, right? So the knowledge we have gathered from outside. So everything we know, right, comes from outside because everything has to do with the knowledge, education.
From the society.
Yeah. Since you were born, everyone's feeding you information, and when you're maybe an adult, like you might have a better understanding about how to go about things. But when you're a kid, you don't know anything, so you take everything for the face value when someone says it. So when that happens, that becomes your operating system. Think about a computer, right? So your software is what processes information.
Yeah.
And your software is everything you were taught in your society, like in your school and everything. So because how do you process? Like we do things in this society through comparison. That's how we identify things.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum that we identify as this good on one end, and then this bad on the other end.
Yeah.
And then we try to fit everything or rate everything of experiences in between this frame. So when you say I'm trying to rate my experience in this spectrum of good and bad, how does that happen? Because we give a rating according to how we experience it, whether it was pleasurable or unpleasurable for us. Understand? When I say watermelon, we had
we had discussed.
What comes into your mind, right? What comes into your
mind? Red fruit, like green fruit,
Yeah.
like watery,
like a pleasant feeling. Right? When I say watermelon, it's not that great feeling because I had a bad experience with watermelon. Now I can't eat watermelon, right? But that doesn't mean watermelon is a bad fruit. But you like watermelon, but that doesn't mean watermelon is a good fruit either.
Yeah.
Watermelon is just watermelon. It's us who make something out of it.
Yeah.
Right? So every incident that happens in our life, we judge. Like we rate it, whether if it's a good thing or a bad thing. The moment you judge something, you create an attachment. It's like you have a bag. The moment you judge an incident, you are literally clicking add to cart.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or dislike it, still an attachment,
Yeah.
right? So attachment is that judgment we make. So this is why we are stuck in this world, because a lot of things happen around us.
Stuck in this world means like
We are suffering.
okay.
Like why we are suffering this life? Because at the end of the day, if you ask anyone, are you satisfied with your life? What the answer you
Okay.
get? Like everyone's no one's happy. Or
Because
they're happy temporarily, but they're not satisfied. They're still looking for something. Why is that? Because they know they're looking for something, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And we think it's outside. We're going on, buying a new car or traveling, doing some sort of thing. We think that would make us satisfied, right? But okay, if you think traveling makes you, complete or whatever, like if it's you think, you travel once, are you satisfied? No, you still want to go because it's unsatisfactory. There's three natures of the universe, everything that in Buddhist philosophy they talk about. First one is impermanence.
Yeah.
Right? That means everything is changing. The changing nature of everything in this universe. Like you can't point out anything in this universe that's permanent.
No.
The second one is unsatisfactory. So the word for that is dukkha. Dukkha means suffering, but it's unsatisfactory. It's a better translation. So we're suffering because it's unsatisfactory. The nature of unsatisfactory in that. Because whatever you do, you won't be satisfied because you're looking for it externally. And the third one is non-self. Non-self is a concept. It's very, I can explain it. It's very hard to understand in a deeper level if you haven't practiced in some sort of way.
Yeah,
because
it's like
we are.
I'm no one. Or?
No, exactly. But it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
For you when someone say, "Oh, there's
no one.
There's no self in you," because
coming
I am here. Like there is such a here. I'm present. What do you mean? That it's not like that, right? Because we're so attached into that concept of myself. Like if I ask you who you are, what's your question? Sorry, what your answer would be?
So I'm someone from Nepal coming
All
to
that.
Australia. Like the things I've achieved, or maybe my profession.
Yeah, the question is who you are, not what you have associated with. But we go on about giving this description with the things that we have associated during our lifetime. Things we have
what I've done and
everything is to do with outside. That doesn't tell anything about like who you are, right deep inside. So where does this identity come from? So my understanding through my experience, what I realized was this identity comes from a place of insecurity. Like we create this identity as a guard, right, over the time, especially when you're a kid, when you get attacked from outside, when you have no clue of how to handle your emotions or how to go about things. And when you're looking back now, those events may not even feel like they were big deals, right? Then you can simply discard it. But then back then, when you did not have enough understanding, they were big things. So you create these attachments around those things because you judge yourself for being bad. Also, you're getting hurt. And then
also maybe you start judging other people.
Yeah, that too. So and
on your past memories.
So it comes like this. Like this is related to trauma. Right, childhood trauma. So trauma is an emotion that hasn't been properly processed, right? So say something happened right now, and then because of that incident, a surge of emotions comes through your brain. Your emotions work with chemicals, like it's a human process, right? So when I say a snake comes here, right, we both would be jumping on this table, right, without even thinking. That's how it happens, through adrenaline and all that, right? Chemical process. So say as a kid, when you get frightened or something, you have these emotions, and if the kid doesn't know how to process that emotions, it becomes a trauma. It becomes a thing that's holding them, and now that kind of gives them an identity because of that trauma. Because now, in order for them to protect themselves from those kind of things happening again and again, they create this facade, right? A guard sort of thing. And it could become a trait in personality and something like that. You just become a different person or whatever. But that is to protect yourself, right? But then over the time, what we don't understand is that protective guard becomes who you are.
Yeah.
Right. We identify ourselves as that.
That's
Like
it, yeah.
Geeth who likes this, Geeth who does that, Geeth who this identification. The moment you identify yourself with a particular thing, the nature of the system is that it goes around protecting that. Right. That's why when someone says something to you, you get mad.
Yeah.
You get upset because there is this person who's getting hurt. So idea of non-self is that there is no person who's experiencing. I'll give you this example for that. You see trees outside, right?
Yeah.
Trees are simply there. Trees have life.
Yeah.
But is there a voice inside the tree that keeps saying, okay, I'm a tree, I'm this kind of tree, I'm living in Uluru, I know that? No. But see, tree is there.
The name.
Yeah. But the tree doesn't have that. But trees still have life, right?
Yeah.
The thing with human intelligence is that we have that part called mind that constantly talking. Mind operates with memory, right? All the memories are running constantly. Yeah. When you close your eyes, there's a train of thoughts that coming past, right? Yeah. And then if you simply observe, every thought has to do with some sort of past memory, right? So it's a overplay of memory, constant memory. So and that's what we're suffering, right? So that what has created that idea of self, because there's someone who's in there that's suffering, because there's things that have been collected in that baggage. Call my name, say Geeth. Okay, Geeth is the one with this, all this kind of thing. This is baggage. So the idea of healing trauma is that memories, attachments, like insecurities, traumas, all these kind of things. How you go about it is you go about looking things for what they are, and when you look at those things, you don't judge. So this is where perspective comes, right? You start simply observing, paying attention, because the moment you understand that, okay, I'm stuck here and I'm constantly doing this rat race, running around, like everyone's trying to get the PR, everyone's trying to get a better job, everyone's trying to invest in stock markets or Bitcoin or whatever. Everyone's trying everything. For what? To find happiness, contentment, and all that. We're looking for it outside.
For a better life.
But then, if you look into all the religious teachings like Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, they all talk about looking inwards, right? Know thyself, right? That means the very thing that we are looking for from outside lies within us. It's just we are paying attention to the wrong place. So once you start paying attention to this whole process of who you are, right, what you know as yourself, and how you react in outside world, if you simply start observing, you can get a better understanding about it, right? So to understand human mechanism, you don't necessarily have to learn psychology, right? Because you're a human. You're living your emotions every minute, every single second. So if you simply pay attention, you will see how it works. Understand? So it's by simply paying attention, you will get that perspective, right? With that perspective, you will start seeing, okay, I was stuck somewhere, but then what I was looking for is not really out there. But if I keep looking into myself, maybe I can find it. So practice is the key word. You have to keep practicing. Like you have to keep observing. It's like, there's a car, like you go sit outside near the road, right? You see cars passing by. If you go sit on the road, you get smashed, right? So you don't do that. You don't get engaged with the thoughts. You simply observe the thoughts.
So all these things, like to solve all these things, because we have never thought about these things. No, neither in a school nor by the society, because they think like they will solve but themselves. Like we are meant to be, or we are not trained, but we are meant to be. We are supposed to solve our thoughts by ourselves, right? So what's the way? Like meditation, practice, or we start thinking in different way?
So there are so many things you can do to go about this, right? To practice. The essential part, the key word is practice. And the second one is letting go. Right? So what is letting go? So, okay, what is meditation? What I understood was meditation is a practice of letting go. Right? So what we do by sitting down is is letting go. What are we letting go? Letting go of those attachments that we have created. So when we talk about these attachments and letting go, there are two factors to it. All right. So we're like a machine, like a factory, right? So when we deal with the outside world day to day, we pick things up.
Yeah.
Every moment we come across someone, we pick something up, right? We're like a garbage collector.
Yeah.
We always pick up the rubbish.
Whether it's good or bad.
Most of the time, the rubbish, right?
Yeah.
And we keep collecting these things, right? So there's a pile of rubbish that you're sitting on that you have collected over the years. We are sitting on a pile of rubbish, right? That we have collected over the years. Now, there's two aspects of it because right now, currently we are collecting more stuff from outside. So first thing is to like put a barrier there, like sort that out. Stop picking up new shit, right?
Okay.
So you have enough time to go and clear out the stuff that you already collected. So this is what kind of happened to me.
Yeah.
So I was slowly looking into myself, but then also I realized that I was picking up so much shit from outside. So then that became my center of attention. So I started paying attention to how I react to the outside world. My every conversation with someone, like all the conversations that I have with people, how I react to certain situations, like when someone says something, whether I get triggered or not, all these kind of things, I slowly started paying attention.
You start observing yourself.
Yeah, how I react to outside, right? And what happened was, first I was just simply observing, and with the way we live our life, we don't live our life the majority of the time consciously. We live unconsciously. It's on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
Like you sometimes like wake up and you're already like making a tea for yourself or doing something,
Yeah.
but then you didn't know like
Why
you
I'm
didn't
doing
you never planned it. It's
You are
happening
doing
on
it this. Yeah.
autopilot, right? So when you're dealing with emotions as well, like say someone made you upset. Now you're upset, you're crying, you're angry or something, but you're simply immersed in that emotion and you're doing it, but you don't know you are angry, right? You're simply a victim of that emotion, right? So that's where I was stuck first. But then more I started paying attention, what happened was there were two Geeths. There was a Geeth who's going through the emotion, a particular thing, and then there was another Geeth who knew that. Okay, I'm crying, but I also know I'm crying.
Like.
This
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, I understand.
Like but that does not necessarily mean I'm trying to stop crying.
Yeah.
No, you don't force to do anything
No.
because again, how does
It's kind of you feel like split personality in yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like one Geeth is saying like, why you are crying? You are like,
Yeah.
there's no point. And the other Geeth is saying, like, yeah, no, you should let it, be yourself. You should cry.
Yeah.
You should let your emotions go.
Okay.
Is that
Okay, so you're talking about a split version of that second
thoughts
personality.
split? Yeah.
Yeah. So the correct way to go about this is again, acceptance is one of the most important things, right? Now, say you're crying or you're doing something or you're going through an emotion or whatever. It's happening because of a reason, like something triggered it.
Yeah.
So how does things work in this world? Like how things operate in this world is like it's explained in cause and effect. Newton's law, right? Like every action has a reaction. So you see that reaction because there was action.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a valid reason. Like there's a valid reason behind what you are crying or why you are mad or whatever. So when you get mad, you don't tell yourself I shouldn't be mad. The more you tell yourself I should not be mad, the more you get mad.
And moreover, you don't get that thought when you're
Yeah, so you keep digging yourself a hole when you're trying to control or stop an emotion. So when you're angry, like you have to let it out, you have to feel it. Why do we kick chairs when we get upset at someone?
Maybe we are taking out our emotions.
Yeah, you have to let it
Yeah.
out in some sort of way, right? As long as it's healthy, it doesn't hurt someone else or you, like it's fine. So the acceptance part, like you have to accept that, okay, I'm going through this because of that. So it's okay to cry. It's not a crime to cry. Like it's not a crime to be angry or whatever because someone did that. But also at the same time, as long as you know that you're doing it. So here's the difference, right? So you have the perspective now, you know you're doing it, but also you're letting it be. whatever. Now, because you're acknowledging it, accepting it, and then you're caring for it. Like you just this is three questions. Like this is one of the things I picked up from Ajahn Brahm's talks. Emperor's questions. There was this emperor. He had three questions. Right. The questions were, what is the most important time? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important thing to do? Right. And then the stories that he kept asking for a lot of people, like wise people and all that. Like he didn't really get the answer, but then he got the answer from a monk or something like that. But the answers are, the most important time is now. This present,
Yeah.
right? The most important person in the person is the person who's in front of you, right?
Right now.
So most important thing to do is to care, right? So when you put those things together, the most important thing to do is to care for the person in front of you right now.
Okay.
Understand that? And that person you can replace with a variable, say X or Y, right? And that X or Y could be your emotions too. So what is in front of you right now? It not necessarily like right now it's me, but then when you're by yourself, it's your thoughts or your emotions, right?
It's like what is more important?
Important.
Yeah.
Like what is there right now?
Priority.
Yeah. What is there right now? You just pay attention.
Yeah.
And you just
Care
about it, right? Just simply caring, right? And then when you're crying, right? Someone comes to you like gives you a hug or whatever, you feel better, right? That's care, like compassion. If you add compassion into the equation, like it has a lot of healing power. So when you're going through an emotion, when you accept it and let it be, sometimes I'm mad, right? Then I tell myself, I was like, okay, you're mad. Just be mad as long as you want. I don't care, right? Be mad. And then when you say that,
so it's not like you should not control your emotions.
no,
You should let it go.
yeah, as long as my thing is as long as it doesn't hurt you or someone else,
You can be
express,
mad.
express.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want to say. Like fine, right? And then let it out. Once you let give yourself permission to feel that emotion, now it's gonna go away the quicker than you thought. Like if you can start controlling, you would deem yourself a big hole, and you get stuck in it. But then if you accept that and let yourself feel that, it fades away the quicker than you thought it would last for. Right?
So doesn't it sometimes conflict? Like, and the thing you said just now, like it's okay to get mad until and unless it hurts someone.
Yeah.
And like, just put yourself in priority.
Yeah.
And that means like you should not care about other much.
No. Okay. So
Doesn't it come conflict?
this thing I use when it comes to other people, right? Yeah, my theory is I only do 50%.
Yeah.
Right? In our relationship, there's two parties to it, right? There's me and there's you.
Yeah.
And then my idea is we're both humans. Everyone is human, right?
Yeah.
And we're not different. No one's superior, no one's below anyone else.
Yeah.
So we hold equal, I think, equal responsibility or like equal share in this relationship, right? So my part is at the 50% mark.
Yeah.
Right? If I go beyond 50% mark, I'm invading you.
Yeah.
Right? If I let you beyond 50% mark, I'm letting you invade mine.
Yeah.
Right? So if I respect myself, I wouldn't let you invade mine.
Yeah.
If I respect yourself, I wouldn't invade yours.
Yeah.
So this is shared path, right? So when it comes to my relationship, I'm like, okay. And that 50% differs from the relationship to relationship you have.
Yeah.
Like what I have
How
with
much
you.
you want to contribute
Yeah,
in
exactly.
that
It
relationship.
changes
Yeah.
according to the person and the relationship you have with them. But then the important thing is that I consider in each and every step myself as a person, separate person, individual, and I look at the other person the same way. So in an equal way. So in that aspect, like if I get angry or something, if someone did something stupid, if I keep telling them like in a really nice way and they're still not listening, if I had to raise my voice, I will.
Yeah.
That's what they get. That's what they get for the 50% that they have already played, right? If that's the case, I don't feel guilty about it because it's not coming out of bad faith.
Yeah.
It's coming out of compassion. It's a difference.
That's,
So you're not acting out of rage. You know you're mad, but then the reaction deep inside, it's coming out of compassion because that's what that person requires at this point.
Okay, and also coming back to the emotion things,
Yeah.
like when you said like, okay, if you wanna cry, you can cry.
Mm.
You know, like let your emotions. And the society said like, nah, being a man, how can you cry?
Okay. See,
So sometimes at some point you think like, no, crying. If you cry, you know that makes you more weak, or I'm not talking about someone will judge you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's about yourself. Like, don't you judge yourself sometimes and think like, oh no, I'm getting weak, I shouldn't cry. Rather than this, I should be strong. I should like maybe suppress your emotions, or maybe you can control your emotions but not cry, because that can generate sympathy towards yourself, and that will make you more weak. And you should stop crying. Don't you get that thoughts?
Okay, so crying it's coming from emotion of like sadness, right?
Yeah.
Like feeling, right? When you're upset, sad,
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
That's so the way of letting that out is crying. So crying is a tool that we have. That the way I see it.
To express
Out our those sad emotions, the grief and all that kind of
or
stuff.
we can say to let go emotions.
Yeah, because like when you're crying, you feel good.
Like when you're angry, we kick the table.
Something like that, similar way.
Yeah.
So if you have, so getting angry at someone is kind of okay in the society. Like people wouldn't say, but then if you're crying, like someone would say something to you. But then they're both emotions, they're both feelings. Why do we care about something else more than the other? Like why we have different standards for different emotions?
Yeah.
Right? That is to do with what we learn from the society, right? Right. That's what we were taught. Like me growing up, like when I was a kid, I was very soft, right? So I used to cry. But then what the response I got back from this outside was don't cry like a girl. Now I'm a boy. Now they say don't cry like a girl.
Yes.
So like this is what happens in growing up in a culture like Sri Lanka. And then you're in a confusion, right? Like you get upset, you want to cry, but then every time you cry, you get
comes in front of you.
attacked, right? How do you go about it? I stopped crying, right? I was like, whatever happens, allowed to cry. So you start creating this whole barrier, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't get emotional.
Yeah.
You get emotional, but now you're suppressing all your emotions, right? So
you are not expressing it.
And what it is like, think about a spring. You push it all the way down, right? All the way down, and the pressure gets created. At some point, it's gonna burst out.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt you really bad, right? That's gonna happen. That's what happens when you suppress your emotion. That's what happened to me. So, and when people say that, like don't cry and all that, like no, it's a healthy thing, right? As long as you know you're crying, as long as understand you're going through the process and still crying, it's fine.
Because I've also talked with some people. They like they look themselves at mirror, and like it's a good day, it's not a bad day, everything's going good. They look at themselves on the mirror and they start crying.
Like we don't cry just because of the sadness as well.
Sometimes they like crying.
Yeah.
Because they say like, I like crying sometimes. Like without reason.
Yeah.
Just to like maybe just to see themselves. Or I know. Like.
When we get overjoyed, we cry as well.
Yeah.
Like when we like ecstatic, tears come out.
Also while watching movie.
Yeah. When we get emotional, right?
Yeah.
So it's an emotional response to the crying thing, right? But once you are done crying, you feel good. There's some sort of like this feeling in there, like you can't feel good.
You feel light.
If you understand how your body works, right? Now, if I ask you, is your body Sachin?
Yeah.
Is it? Is what I see in front of me, this flesh and all that, is it Sachin?
For me, yes. For me now.
Is your body just like, is Sachin is just your body?
No. It's like maybe my emotions,
like
everything.
There's another intelligence part of that, like we call mind and soul, know that. Your body is an accumulation of earth.
Yeah, or maybe just a tool to move such in.
It is a tool, right? But also what I'm getting at, your physical body is an accumulation of your food you eat all the time, right? So and that comes and goes and comes and goes. So we're so attached to this body and creating this identity around it.
Yeah.
Right? And then wait, what was the question?
It's like crying.
Yeah.
Things like
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was explaining about it. So
Yes.
this human body is fascinating. It's one of the most, like probably the most sophisticated mechanism in this world, right?
Yeah.
And how your emotions get triggered is through chemicals in your brain, like endorphin, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, all that kind of stuff, right? So this is a specific chemical responsible for these emotions.
Yeah.
So when you cry, you get these doses of chemicals, right? That's why you feel good after that. So some people, if they're saying, I like crying, or like just for the sake of it, but it's because these chemicals act in different ways and they kind of feel good about it. That's what my take on it. But also, like, I don't think crying is a bad thing. I think it's a really good thing that you can let yourself out. As long as you know that you're crying, like, not blindly crying, but I know I'm crying because something happened.
Yeah.
But I also know.
So at least you know some, like you are letting go something.
Yeah.
After you cry, you feel
Good.
lighter.
Yeah. So because it's coming up. Also, like the most important thing to understand is again that impermanence thing, right? Nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
So you're crying today, you're laughing tomorrow, right? It's not going to last forever. Any emotion that you're feeling right now, it's a whole roller coaster thing.
Yeah.
So it's not going to last forever. So as long as you understand that, when you're going through something, you know you're crying. You also know you're crying, but also you also know that I'm not crying forever. This is going to change at any point. Like, 'cause that's how life works. Emotions change. Right.
So, Geeth, you are some kind into spirituality.
Really depends on what you mean by spirituality.
Spirituality means like I don't know, maybe knowing yourself. Is that what spirituality means? What is spirituality?
For me, that gives us some sort of explanation. I guess this is
knowing the way of living.
I'll explain you my experience around it. Right, spirituality means I thought first. Okay, I was associated with the religion, right?
Yeah.
Because coming from Sri Lanka, having a Buddhist background, but then the Buddhism over there is a religion. Religion is everything to do with culture, not like barely.
Really get this thing. This one is okay, right?
So Buddhism as a religion in Sri Lanka, like it has barely anything to do with the spirituality or like the philosophy of the real teachings of Buddha. My take, because people don't practice Buddhism. My understanding and through my practice, what I got to know was that it's a practice. It's not just a teaching, but it's a practice. Practice is the key. What is the practice? Practice is the middle part, the part where you can use to let go, right? What is middle part? Middle part is that you don't get attached to either of ends, but which we call good and bad, right? You don't take things as good. You don't take things as bad. You see these for what they are. How? Through cause and effect, and then you let it simply go, right? So anything that's built up within you, you also can let go through the same way, through middle path, by not judging it, saying it's a good experience or a bad experience, right? But over there it's religion. So my spirituality began with the religion, but then things started making no sense. Like the way people behave, and what I learned from the books and teachings and all that, it doesn't go hand in hand. It's very right? Contradictory. Like, so people would say something and do the opposite. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. But then the more you go deeper, you understand that it's not actually about that cultural part that we were looking into. There's more in the teaching. what is the teaching? Teaching is that understanding this world or the human mechanism, who you are, how this system works, by paying attention into yourself, right? So for me, like I had no clue, like about these emotions and everything for a long period of time. Like it took me about 13 years to understand my emotions properly, like through practice. But then I spent a lot of time reading, watching videos, and all that kind of stuff. But until like I stopped looking for answers from outside, and I had enough knowledge until I applied it to myself and start seeking answers from myself, within myself, nothing made sense for me. In the sense that I had the knowledge, but it wasn't really. There's a difference between knowledge you gathered and the realization you get.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So when I paid attention to myself and started understanding everything through my experience, and then looking into these things and understanding how my emotions work, my thoughts work, how they get attached, where's the judgment, how the judgment create attachment, which also I also think that same attachment, the judgment is also what we call as karma as well. And these practices, again, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, that's what I've like kind of like looked into. And all these practices talk about a way of letting go of this attachment. In Christianity, it's about like confessing. I think about like forgiving yourself and all that. That means you're letting go of that guilt, that the self judgment you have about you, right? So that's how you get rid of karma.
So is there only your experience that can make you realize about something?
Yeah. So you have to practice.
It's not about someone else's experience, like maybe reading book.
Reading book helps for you to guide yourself in that journey, for you to practice. Like when you don't understand something, when you're practicing, you can go back and reflect, get another from there and then use it. It's a tool. The information is outside is a tool. As long as you use it as a tool, not get used by from the information, because most of the time what happens is we become the tool to the information, and then we get used by the information. Instead of doing that, you use information as a tool. So when you're practicing it, what happened to me was like then I started understanding all these things that I was reading and all that within myself, and that's a whole different level of understanding. When you go into these deep states of mind, when you actually get a realization, it comes from a place where once you realize something, you don't have to think about it and apply it again. It becomes your nature. Like I call these things states of mind. For an example, I'll give you a thing. So a phrase that I kept using was "this too will pass." This too will pass means like when you're going through something, tell myself, okay, this is not going to last forever. This is going to change. That comforts you, right? But then when you're going through something really bad, it helps you because you know that something good is going to happen. But then when you're going through something good, it also helps you to understand that this is not going to last forever. So you don't get overjoyed or whatever. You still keep work hard because things can go wrong any minute, right? So because you understand that. Now, at the beginning, I had to keep repeating this to myself, keep saying, okay, this too will pass every time I go through something. But then automatically after practice, over the time, it becomes, the state of mind, which also means like, for an example, it's kind of like you're getting a software upgrade, right? Now your software upgrade is this too will pass because information we get from outside, from five senses, we run it through this program, right? And then we process the image. Yeah. If your software is shit, your image, the outcome is going to be shit as well, right? So when you're having this realization, you kind of like your software get upgraded. So now the processing becomes much better, and then the end result, like the image you make out of it, becomes better as well, right? So that's the state of mind.
So what I mean is, the thing you said, the experience is necessary.
Yeah.
Right? So is that possible? Is it possible to experience each and everything, and then start living your life? Because I don't think it's like possible in someone's life. Because I know the fire will burn me. Yeah, I don't need to touch the fire to know that. No, I can know from someone else's experience as well. So that's what I'm.
Fire will burn you because it has burned you already. You know how it burns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So No, I mean like it's just an example.
Yeah.
So like I'm not good. I'm not got
Here's the
shot
thing.
by a bullet.
Yeah.
So but I know it will hurt me.
Yeah,
It
but
can kill me.
But it's like you have an idea how it feel like, but you don't really know how it is.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. This is a really good example. One of my like an analogy. One of my friends told me there are two blind people, right?
Yeah.
None of them has seen anything in this outside world. One of them believes that if I keep rubbing my eyes, eventually I might be able to see something beyond what I perceive now. And then he keep rubbing his eyes, and then eventually his eyes started working somehow miraculous, right? And then now he can see everything that he hasn't seen before, right?
Yeah.
How that blind person who used to be blind, explain what he sees to that other blind friend? How? Do you understand?
Yeah. Just.
He can say
he can't-
he can't say
can't-
this, but
yeah.
he cannot get that exact thing.
So it's just like you mean like
You can have an
perception.
idea
Yeah.
according to what you know, perception. You can have an idea about
Yeah.
it. Again, like the watermelon, like what we have is like we're wearing sunglasses all the time. The sunglasses is that
Okay, yeah, I got it.
we're associating a perception with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
The perception is a personal judgment that we have got.
It's just like 5 blind people touching an elephant.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
You got
We have
it. Yeah.
9 billion something people in this world. Everyone has a unique perspective according to their experience, but how they have lived.
So it's not like I can live from someone else's experience.
Yeah.
I can't live my life.
So
Because I will live my life in different way than someone else,
yeah,
and then I will feel differently. Our emotions are different.
Yeah.
So I have to experience everything by myself.
yeah, it's like you again when you say everything,
Yeah.
like I'm talking about experiences in the sense that like if you here's the thing, right? Like I understood about this human whole thing. Like I understood about like how my body works, how my mind works, and everything through practicing and looking into myself. And then after that, what I realized was that we're all humans. We are different
Yeah.
according to our experiences, but then the underlying thing is we're all human beings. And even though we're different, we may have different colors or skin or gender or whatever ethnicity or country or anything. It's the same human mechanism. We are all emotional beings, right? You and me both. Like it's the same thing. So if I understand it through myself, right, I understand other human beings too. So another problem that I see in the world is that like we see people for the labels that they wear. Like we go see a doctor, we go see a barista at the cafe, we go see a policeman, we go see a manager, right?
Yeah.
But what we fail to see, like when you read a label like that, there's a set of like the list of job responsibilities you get in the contract. There's a certain list like that. So you're looking at that person through that filter, right? But then what we forget is that beyond that label, there's a human being, and that human being is an emotional being, the same way I am. And if you can open to that idea and treat that person as another human being, things change, right? So it's understanding who you are through that, understanding the whole world like that, because this world is its people.
Or like to understand someone else by understanding yourself.
Yeah.
But it's still like your emotions should be different than mine. Because I've heard so many times people say like, I can understand, but actually they can't. Because they haven't faced the same situation I have faced. They haven't experienced.
I'll give you an example. There are like movies that you watch, right?
Yeah.
Your favorite stuff. Like what movies you like? Hindi movies.
Yeah, in the action movies.
Action movies, Hollywood movies. Right? Then there are some movies that we think that they are really bad.
Yeah.
Like it's probably
Flop
shit.
movies.
Shit graphics.
Yeah.
So like the story is really bad or whatever.
I can say what Adipurus
So
after seeing trailer.
but then you also know that even though we think those films are bad, there's a specific crowd that think that those films are really good.
Yeah.
Right? They watch those films, right? What they get after watching that film is a similar feeling what you get after watching a Hollywood film, right?
Maybe it's because they can relate themselves.
Yeah, feeling is same, but what it the medium that triggered that feeling is different.
Yeah.
And when you watch that movie, you won't get the same feeling. But again, the feeling is same. The emotions are the same.
Yeah.
That's something that we all share in common.
The dopamine will be same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then experience can be different, right? And this personality, your specific genetics and all that kind of stuff. So what you're going through, like you might have been through like so many different experiences that are different to me, right? But then that not necessarily mean that I haven't been through the same intensity of those emotions.
Yeah.
Like they could be, like, but then it's just that if you give an example, and if I don't understand that example, I can't really relate because our language is limited.
Yeah.
Like we're talking these words, trying to explain something, but then all the time we're saying, trying to give an example, we're trying to use an analogy, like to explain something, because language is a communication method and it's very primal. It's like when you talk, when you say something, you can't express the feeling, right? It's just words, right? Like you can't convey someone how you feel exactly. You're like,
you can just use the words.
And then someone's like, oh, is it like this? And you're like, not like that, but you
you come to that picture you want.
Yeah.
You are looking at it.
It's because our communication is pretty poor.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And also I've seen, I was looking at the status. I was going to your Facebook profile.
Yeah.
Before calling you here. Yeah. And doing some research on you. And I saw the one status regarding time. I tried to go through it. It was a bit complicated for me or complex for me.
Yeah.
I can't properly understand. Maybe you can.
Time. My understanding
like
of
you
time.
were saying some past, present, future, but it's at the same moment. It's like same time. Yeah, that's doesn't make sense.
The idea of time, according to my experience, understanding and experience, I think it's a made up thing.
Yeah.
Okay, when you say time, what comes into your mind is the clock, right? So you hear the arm goes tick, like tick, tick, tick. But then when you go tick, 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 you count from one tick to the other tick, the sound. But then you forget about the gap in between. What's the tick, like that, right? So it goes. So there's a continuation, right? It doesn't like one appears and the other disappears. But also like in philosophy, like Buddhism, when you go deep into it, it also says that it get created and then disappears, appears, disappears. That's the nature of everything, like vibration, like it.
Time.
Like how physical world works, it appears and disappears in a high rate. For an example, like when we film things, like we talk about a frame rate, that means like 120 frames per second. And you have 120 frames played within a second, right, or captured within a second. But then if you slow it down to one frame, right, it's just there's a photo, but when you're playing it at that rate, you see a continuation of it. So if you slow this down, like there is no continuation, as in like I'll explain it in a different way.
Yeah.
Like in the stairs.
You mean like it kind of when I slow that continuation, like slow down?
Yeah, I'll comment it in a different way.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit confusing when I go that way.
Yeah, because it's already a confusing topic.
Okay. So how we conceive time, right? How we like process time? Like what is time to you, right? Time is that you're here. There's a point, right? And there's something called future in front of you, and then there's something called past behind you, right? So
that's how I see.
the time is created because there's 2 points, right? There's now, and then there's either a future point or a point in the past, right? What is a point in the past? Something happened, right, at the back. So we think time is linear, right?
Like a line,
like a line. So if that's the case, like when you look back, like you have an idea about the past, but then that idea about the past is a memory, right? Where does that memory exist? We are talking about that memory right now in this moment. So in reality, the past does not exist, right? What exists is a memory of that past that we have right now, which is in this present moment. What is future? Future is the same way, like it's an idea about the future that we have, a projection that we have according to these past experiences, the memory. We process something that's going to happen, like after this I have to go home, like something like that. But then hasn't happened yet. I have an idea about it, but then the idea, where the idea is right now.
Yeah, right now in your head.
In present.
Yeah.
Right. So what actually exists is this present. Like, it's here. But then there's no past or future because.
It's just in our thoughts.
Yeah. You understand that?
Yeah.
So that's what I explained in that.
So there is no line, you mean?
There's no line. Yeah. There's no.
It's only a point.
There's
only a point.
Yeah, something like that.
There's only a point that's called present.
Yeah.
And past and future, it's
not like a point as well necessarily. Like, again, like if you really zoom into this moment, right?
Yeah.
What this moment consists of is everything in this universe. This moment has everything. The thing is that when we see time as a moving thing, like we see a continuation, but every cell in your body, right? Are you the same? Do you have the same body that you had an hour ago? Probably not, because
cells getting older every second.
You have new cells coming out in your body, and then you have all other cells that are dying.
Yeah.
So you could be a completely different set of cells right now here. Like everything changes like that. So
that means like time changing, like every second, like universe is changing. Is that?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the change, like it's the whole picture that's changing, the whole universe that's changing. That's my idea. And then the idea of time there is that when you zoom into the present, like when you say present moment, then it gives the idea of like, okay, now this is the present moment now, and then next there's another moment that's going to be the present moment. But when you say I'm just present, you just be, right? Like you just be, and then when you be, in that idea, it includes everything around you. So it's a very it's very hard to explain with normal words what I have in my mind. If I get better words, I'll explain it to you later.
And also, the thing I want to ask is, because last time when we were talking in kitchen, you give me an idea about your past experience. Like I think I was talking about depression and I can remember, like I said, like there was a knife in my hand. I said like I can kill you, and he said like no, I'm not afraid of death. And then I said like maybe you're depressed then. If you're not afraid of death, then you are depressed. Then I said like you are depressed, and then you said like you don't know what depression is. Yeah, and then you said like you gave me an idea, like you went through it. Is that real? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, depression again. When we put a label into something, we think it has to be specific. Like when you say depression, people have a specific idea. This is what depression is.
Like but mental health.
Yeah, but then when you draw the boundaries, like there's probably a clinical explanation for depression, right? I haven't really read it, but so we randomly like use these words. Okay, depression, but then a stressed state or a depressed state, like a deeper than stressed, right? I've been through something like that. Through that, I have an experience, and then I have an understanding how I went through it and what happened. Yeah.
So, how you explain?
Okay, so how it came about was like, okay, I was in Melbourne, like constantly working.
I'm not talking about like your experience. I mean like how you will explain, like if someone.
Okay.
Yeah. 있어. You.
찾았더니 여기서 그 사이 나오네. 여기서 이베라자. 이베라자. 더 섞어서
It's okay.
안테 하려는 거는.
So forward.
Okay, I'll explain. It's easier to explain with my experience.
Yeah.
Because it's an example.
Yeah. If you are comfortable.
That's fine. It's like a case study. If you're looking,
okay.
That's how I see it now that when I'm looking back. So I went through this period of like working my ass off, like about 16, 18 hours in Melbourne every day. I didn't take a break for a long time. And then because I was working so much and barely taking any time to look at my emotions or whatever, I was like putting everything aside and chasing something, right? Working hard. And then I did that for about like 11 months, and end of that, I took a break, and then it was like you're traveling at 180 miles per hour or kilometers per hour, and all of a sudden pulling an emergency brake, right? And that's what happened to me. And then everything I've been pushing up started coming back. Oh, and then my anxiety levels started going off the roof, right? And then I didn't know what to do. All these memories, emotions, past things like started like coming up like a tsunami. And then that was really difficult. And after that, it was a gradual decrease of everything. Like, so what happened was my personality is that, like, I had set goals in my life, I had dreams and all that kind of stuff. But then over the course of, I think, a year or something, I started losing my motivations and everything. Like, things I thought I wanted in my goals. Yeah, everything was fading away. I had no interest anymore, and I was like, these things are going away. And then what happened was, I was so uncomfortable being at that position. Right, because I've never lived my life that I always had something I worked hard for, and then no longer I have any passions or something. I was like, what do I do? I kept questioning, and then because I thought all these things are going to be like a huge part of my life. I thought I had my life plan until the end of it, all that, and then it started like breaking right in front of me, collapsing, and then I started getting stressed out. Right, I was like, what do I do? I started panicking, and then I was like, I've been in a really good state before, and then I never thought I could get stressed or depressed, but then I was going through it. I started smoking. I couldn't handle it
So you were depressed.
Yeah, the worst part about that was, right, I thought I cannot get depressed, right? Yeah. And then because I was going through it, then I was like, oh shit, if I'm depressed, like what do I do? How do I go? But like I started panicking. Yeah. And that made it worse, right? So and
so what point was that, like how did you start feeling like you are getting depressed, or
like because I was
when you start feeling low, you don't
everything, like you don't want to do anything, you have no care for anything, and you're constantly like tired, physically, mentally exhausted. You can't sleep properly. Like there was some nights like couldn't even sleep. Like think about, my head was about to like burst out or things like that. So that kind of stuff.
But sometimes, like in today's world, like, I know about 15, 20 years before, maybe depression was still there. 20, 30 years before, I'll say depression, but they don't talk about it. Maybe they don't know about depression. But still, people were doing suicides. Yeah. People were having mental health problems. But recently, like in today's generation, youths are getting more affected with mental health, depression, anxiety. So, do you think it's because of work pressure? Do you think it's because of society?
I think it's the society has a big play in that area, because again, the lifestyle back 30 years back was completely different to what it is right now. We are constantly on the phone, everything is instant, we are looking for something, but then we're also deeply emotional beings. Like, what's this another part of aspect to humans, that intelligence that we are not acknowledging. We are constantly focused on the intellect part, getting the degrees, doing the jobs and all that. Like, I was watching this US Congress. They had a hearing about UFOs from whistleblowers. I was watching that.
I think they had 3 press conferences.
Yeah. So when you watch that, you see the Senate, you see the members, right? You see the whistleblowers, like they're high-ranked people, and
now they are talking about all these things.
Yeah, but then in that whole setting, right, each and every one of them playing a character. Yeah. Like their specific character. This this member from this party representing this or that. They're playing that role. When they're there, they have to play that role. But then when they go home, there's a human there that's going through the day-to-day stuff. Right?
True. So maybe a father, maybe a
mother going through emotion and all that. So, but there's not enough in this society, resources or whatever. Now there's a lot more. But then
resources like, well, what do you call, like maybe doctor?
No, in the sense that there has to be more, like like it has to be
now in this generation. I can't see anyone you can talk about your emotions,
because again, there's no exposure to it. Like again, for me, my experience, I had to spend a lot of time to understand this and learn this, because I had no clue about how. but I knew it was a fundamental problem for me because I was suffering my emotions, right? So I spent a lot of time learning it and then figuring it out. But then I think as a basic thing in this society, here's the thing: we have this sophisticated human body,
Yeah.
like the example of that game, right? You get this human body kit or whatever, but then nobody tells you how to play it.
Yeah.
What's the
There's no
there-
manual for it.
There's no manual for it, right? So you're literally clueless, and this society has so much information
Yeah.
available, whether it's good or bad, a huge amount of information. You don't know what to take. You don't understand this process, and the other thing, on the top of everything, there's free will, as in like you can make any choice
Yeah.
that you will, like you want to. Then you get lost straight up.
You get lost and you start creating thoughts in your mind.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you keep suffering. It's a whole circle.
Circle. Yeah, because there was a point. Maybe I don't know if I was or not, but there was a thing in my mind like saying like, no, you are depressed. It was during lockdown. But
Honestly, that idea of being depressed, like that conversation you have in your head about that thing,
Yeah.
is worse than I think having depression.
yeah,
itself,
having
like-
because I don't know if I was depressed or not because I was okay. I was talking with friends. I was going out, everything. But as soon as I get lonely, like I feel alone by myself, I said no, Sachin, you are depressed. There were like some characters playing around me. There's another Sachin speaking from left side, right side. As you see in the movie, saying like, no, you are depressed. You have to go outside. And the thing I said before, there's another Sachin who says like, no, just let it be. If you are depressed, just be yourself here. Just try to fight with that. And the other Sachin like, no, take help from others. And those things start playing in your mind, and maybe it will make you more fragile. And in today's generation, today's society, I think people are more confused than they are more depressed
Yeah,
regarding
Yeah,
depression, mental health.
100%. I think that was the case of mine as well. But what happened with me was like, okay, first step for me was
Yeah.
being okay with having that kind of stress in my head. Because the idea of like, because I thought I won't be like that. Like I won't be stressed out like that. I thought I won't have a place that I would suffer like that. Be in a place, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, But then I had to realize that, okay, I'm only human as well. Like I go through all these emotions and everything. So this is a natural thing.
Yeah.
And given my last 2 years, how I have spent, like this is the only result that you can get. Because everything I've done, this is the result I got. And it was a fair share, right? Cause and effect again. So, and it's okay to be like that. It's okay to be in a state like that, and I had to accept myself being okay with it. That was the first part. Once you do that, then you are getting rid of that loop where you're thinking constantly, is this
You'll get out of
depression? If it's depression, what do I do? How do I go about it? The constant questions, that's the loop that you get stuck in. So the moment you accept whether it's depression or not, or anything you're going through, the moment you accept, okay, there's a reason that I can. This is explainable why I'm here, and then just accept. And then now you only have one problem to deal with. You don't have two problems, right? Before you were dealing with the second problem, which was not the real problem. Now you only have one thing, and then when you have that clarity, you're asking yourself slowly with acceptance and everything. There's a lot of processes that you can follow to do that. Then you're simply asking, okay, why did this happen? You're simply asking yourself, what led here? What led me here? What things I did.
Without judging yourself.
Without judging yourself, you're simply observing, and then trying to see which actions led me here.
Yeah.
Simply understanding, and then things start making sense, and then you also give yourself necessary treatments in the sense that
It means like try to untie a knot that.
you literally. So if you've been really judgmental about yourself, you slowly try and not judge yourself. Slowly accepting your parts that you didn't like about yourself. Like one of the scariest things was, how long do you think you can spend by yourself without a phone or any sort of distraction?
Maybe only while I'm sleeping.
Like you're awake, like how many days or hours or minutes?
Days without my phone.
Yeah, nothing. So
Maybe 2-3 hours. Yeah.
So if you had someone with us, that might be a little bit better. Someone might think. But then it's because we have a company. But then when you're by yourself, you're with your own company. But then you can't spend so much time because you don't enjoy your own company.
Yeah.
Right? Because then
You don't enjoy yourself.
yeah. So one of the scariest things that happened was like I had to look into myself, which I had neglected for a long time. I was scared looking into myself because I knew there were doors that I was scared to open in there.
So yeah, again, being myself or like to get attached with yourself or to enjoy your company. What that actually means.
That means you're slowly understanding who you are, and you're slowly letting go of that identity you've created for yourself.
So if that means like you stay somewhere, you go to some cliff, just
No,
look at a view,
no.
enjoy your company. That's
See,
what it means.
I didn't do that, right?
Yeah.
But I lived a normal life last few years. But what happened was my day-to-day life became my practice. So if someone says something and I'm getting triggered, instead of reacting to it, I say thank you to that person because that person helped me to identify something that I have given control to the other people to control my emotions. That's why I got triggered. Like the key was outside.
Yeah.
That's why that person could get into me, right? So by showing that that person did the favor. So internally, I just say thank you and avoid the situation. I don't react to it. Then I go home and ask myself, why did I get triggered? Because that some stupid person said something stupid. But then why did I get triggered? I got triggered because I had some sort of identification with that particular thing.
Yeah.
Right? Then next question is, where does this identification come from, right? And then so you keep asking questions like that, then you can go deep into the root causes of this. And majority of the time, in my case, I found out most of this happened had something to do with my childhood trauma. Something happened in the childhood that I did not know how to process my emotions. That became a thing. Like, I'll give you an example, right? When I was like 13 years old, we were somewhere, like at my home. One of our family friends came to our house, and then I said something, right?
Yeah.
And I was 13 years old. When I said it, I was trying to tell a joke, but the moment it came out of my mouth, I knew I said something that was stupid, right? And the moment that person heard it, that person's face changed. And also there was someone else at my home, and that lady like straight away went off at me and said like, you shouldn't be saying things like that, and this was so wrong and all that. I said sorry, right?
Yeah.
But then I felt really guilty. But then after my mom came home, that lady said that to my mom, and then my mom went off at me again 2 times, right? Now after that, like it's gone out of my mind, whatever. Like few months ago, like when I was doing meditation or whatever, this emotion came, right?
Yeah.
The very hard emotion like pops out, and then through the emotion, a memory came. Memory was that incident. I immediately went to that memory, and I could feel like I'm in that memory. This was 2008, somewhere around that. And then so that emotion was that guilt emotion that I felt at the time. So that emotion got triggered somehow. With that, the memory came. So this was an unresolved memory. So when this is a technique I used to do trauma healing, my childhood trauma healing. So when you go to that, what happens is now you start feeling that emotion. Like if you felt guilty or like really somehow, you feel that when something like that happens. When that happens, what I do is I disconnect. How? I straight away tell myself that I no longer am the 13-year-old Geeth. That Geeth is different. I'm now 28 old.
Yeah.
28 years old, right?
That's that you tell yourself.
Yeah, when that happens. And there's a separate, distinct difference between these two people, right? I know much better, right? And then that also allows me to look at the incident as a third party. someone like, because when I'm looking at that as a 13-year-old kid, he's already guilty. He doesn't know what to do with it. That's why I'm looking at this thing after 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years, right?
But that guilt is still inside.
Inside. But then when I do that mental exercise, what happens is, okay, this Geeth who's suffering is there.
Yeah.
And then I'm here, the 28-year-old self. Then I looked at the situation. Okay, first things first, right? When it came out of my younger self mouth,
Yeah.
I already knew I said something wrong, and I said sorry.
Yeah.
If that wasn't enough, I got yelled at by 2 people,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, you didn't even mean to do anything wrong. It was a joke, but then you knew what you said was wrong, and you got yelled at.
it.
If that's not enough,
Yeah.
you're thinking about this shit after 15 years.
Yeah.
You suffered this for this long. Is that not enough? Why are you hurting yourself this much? It was a simple mistake. Just forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Don't hold that guilt. I had a conversation with that guy. That kid, right?
Yeah.
I explained him the situation, what I understood, my perspective. Right? Immediately, that emotion expanded and faded away. Right? That trauma was gone. So that might seem like a small exercise, but it's powerful. That's what I learned. Like, that's a powerful technique of healing trauma.
So that's one way to.
One way to go
Yeah.
about it. But the thing is, like, when we look at incidents happening in the past, we demonize things, like, because the emotions that are connected with those traumas are not pleasant. But that's the experience we had back then. But now looking back, we can create that disconnection. When you create that disconnection, you start understanding, okay, the image I had in my mind was not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Right? It allows you more room to observe and understand it and explain it to that younger self and give more clarity. Also, you can, when you do that mentally, like build up that conversation with your younger self, what happens is now your older self becomes an adult that your younger self can trust. Like, think about a situation where time is not linear,
Yeah.
where it's parallel.
Oh,
You can
it's-
actually travel time and talk to that.
Talk to that.
So you become
young
an
kid.
uncle
Yeah.
that the young Geeth can trust,
Yeah.
right? Because you have the best interest in that. So when you create that relationship you can slowly nurture it, and then over the time, it becomes the root of healing your trauma. Like, that was my experience.
Already 1 hour,
Yeah,
more than that.
I think
1.5.
that. Yeah.
Alright, Geeth, I think we should keep something for next time.
Yeah.
When I will get my mic, it's already on its way. So maybe, hopefully next week or the week after, I'll get it. And yeah, thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me, bro.
So-
It was good having a chat.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience.
Thanks.
It's like some of your past thing as well.
With me right now, it's like, because I kind of have made peace with my past self.
Yeah.
Like, I can't share anything, and it's like just telling a story about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, if someone can take something out of it, that's all it is.
Yeah, eventually it's a story of Geeth.
It's more like a case study
Yeah.
of very average humans.
Yeah, true, yeah. Alright, thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Do a peace sign for camera.
Okay, that was a good green tea.
Yeah.
Thanks. And
I'll reference my green tea though.
bye.